these little journals, you may have seen these in the past. They're very easy, and this is something you can also do with kids and grandkids. And it's a sheet of paper, and you can use any paper, and you can create small or large. So I'm going to use this sketchbook page, and I don't know if you remember from the mark making demo, I have a few pieces that I'm going to turn into a little journal. And I wanted to share with you ones I've done in the past. So this one I drew on a piece of sketch paper, and it was, I didn't intend it to be a journal, so it comes, folds, unfolds. So this is a fun thing to do. You can do a really big drawing of anything you want. See if it will show up here. I think some people call this a zine, which I think is kind of a interesting word. So I just painted this giant face on here, and I didn't love it, so I cut it all off and made it into this very fun little journal, which I'm going to show you how to do. All right, so this was actually the first one I made, and it's my favorite. And I did experiment with it where I glued the cover together, so it doesn't come apart like the other ones do. It's more accordion. And so this one is about 5 years old, I think. And I, put it in my bag, and you can turn it over. And this one was a piece of mixed media paper, and it has, I painted with black gesso, and then this side was like white gesso and a little bit of paint. And so it gave it more substance. So when you, depending on the paper you choose, so you could use a big sheet of watercolor paper to do this. So you can paint it ahead of time and then fold it all up, and then you have this little piece. And this one I poked a hole in it and put the twine in. Okay, so this is another old one. Now this one was done with a piece of 18 by 24, so it's really large. And I have the two sides, one side, and I put some collage pieces in here, and it's just a fun little thing that I can add into and play with different ideas. So that's a really old one too. And here's one more. I think I demonstrated this in my class, Full Bloom. And I've built up a ton of layers in here and done stitching. So this was just clear gesso and ink on the background. So that's another option. I did this little color palette for a class. And so I used Payne's Gray ink mixed with clear gesso and just brushed it on the entire back of this. So it's, and the clear gesso allows, has that little grit that I like. And then the other side was, I think, probably just plain watered down speedball ink. And I like having the two colors on here. So I did some writing on this side. And that's what we do in the workshops is we put a big piece of paper, we'll clear gesso, and then add writing or drawing. So I made my little twine. So I made these two. And they're just out of the drawing paper. These were the two demonstrations I did with Leslie's beautiful brushes. And I love how they came out. So there's no gesso on this, but look at how beautiful each page is. I think this would be a great gift. And so one side could have the artwork, and then you can turn over, and the other side is plain. And then you can just clear gesso or put white gesso or gouache on here. And you could also do this, like I said, with watercolor paper. And this one I put a little feather on the piece. And I think they came out really pretty. So you can take the paper that you used in your mark making lesson. And this one, because I had it bled through from another thing, I got these cool little spots, which I love. So with kids, what I would suggest is when I demonstrate this, give them a big piece of paper, and then they can color and mark and draw all over one side. They can paint on the other side, and then you can do the cutting technique because it's pretty easy. And they can even, if they're young kids, like young grandchildren or you know, that are just starting to use like safety scissors, they can use that. You can do it out of construction paper. So before I start cutting, I do want to demonstrate one other thing that's fun to do. So I'm going to take, this is just drawing paper, and I have a soft charcoal pencil, and I have some clear gesso. So I'm going to create one. It won't be dry by the time I do this. Now, you can take a piece of your artwork. I'm going to take this, and I'm just, oh, sorry, didn't mean to shake it. And I'm just going to do a little sketch. I think I have to go this way. And so you just sketch out your drawing, and it can be a face, it can be leaves, but I like this technique with the charcoal because it gives me a nice little background. So I'm just following, kind of following my little falling flowers here. And I'm holding this back very far because I want it loose. And let's put another one here. And of course you could, you know, write something on here. There's the, you know, it's just endless what you can do. But I think it's really fun, a fun thing to do with your leftover paper. You need a quick little gift, and it could even be a little gift tag if you tie it up and attach it to your gift. I think that could be fun too. Now I'm going to take clear gesso here because this is water soluble. Let me just wet, I have this big flat brush, and I'm just going to wet it in the water first. And doing this helps you not be so attached to your artwork because it's going to smear. And I'm just going to go across like this and add gesso, and it's going to smear my charcoal, but I think it smears in a pretty way. And this is going to be one side of my journal. And you can do this with a portrait, anything. I'm kind of going up and down. If you did it with Stabilo, it would probably smear even more. And the other thing you could do is you could do a whole watercolor and then do a drawing over it and then seal it with the clear gesso. So this will get a little rumply, but I'm just going to let it dry, and then it'll eventually flatten out, and then I can turn it into a journal. All right, so now I'm going to show you how I cut them. So we're going to start with, let's start with the face. All right, this was my little contour drawing, wonky face from one of the tutorials. So I have a little bone folder here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it this way. And then I'm going to take my bone folder. Okay. And then, so it's folded in half. Then I'm going to take this top piece and fold it. So you may have done this before. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. But I think that they all become unique with your artwork on them. Okay, And then I'm gonna flip it over and fold this side down. Sorry, my camera's shaking. I see it shaking when I'm doing this. I have to figure out how to fix that. Maybe Nicolette, the photographer, can help me. All right, so now I'm gonna turn it over again and I'm gonna fold it the opposite way. So as my daughter says, this is the hamburger, this is the hot dog. So now I'm folding it like a hot dog. So it's, you want to try and get it as even as possible. And it's okay if, you know, it doesn't happen, but I think it helps your creasing a little bit. Okay. And so let me just crease this. Now I have to fold this side down, so I do the front first. So Olivia has made, like, she loves everything mini and teeny tiny. So she's made these really little ones and they're so cute. She watches someone on Instagram that's like the tiny kitchen and they have all kinds of tiny little utensils and they make actual real food in the tiny kitchen with the tiny utensils and the tiny spoons and bowls and everything. Okay, so there we go. It's all done. So now the next thing I'm gonna do, it's horizontal. It's up, you know, the landscape. So I'm gonna take this little charcoal pencil and I'm gonna go in this top row of the fold. So hopefully you can see that. And I'm just gonna, where the seam comes together, I'm just gonna put 2 little dots, okay? Then I'm gonna turn it around. I'm gonna go to the center one and put a little dot. All right, now I'm gonna get my scissors. Here, let's see if these are any good. So I'm gonna start on this side and I'm just gonna cut all the way up. Okay, then I skip over the center one and I'm gonna go to this last one. Okay, then I'm gonna turn it over and I'm gonna go to that dot. That helps me remember because I have cut the wrong way before. I'm sure that's not surprising after my journal debacle. Okay, so now we have all these pieces. So I am going to start folding. Actually, I'm gonna go this way. There we go. And you just kind of keep folding it around. It kind of helps you, it guides you which way to go. It's just when you get to this corner that you have to sometimes go against the fold. Okay, there it is. So now I'm going, so we have this in the center. So she came out in the center now. So you just have these cool images when you open your book. And then you could, on the outside, take and paint the cover. So when I did these, this was on the cover. This, I folded it the opposite way. And like this one, I just collaged a piece on the cover. So I really like her being on the inside. So I have these little interesting marks that I can bring into my journal making. Like, I love how that looks. That's really cool. And then she's on the other side. So you can paint your cover, you know, maybe with a little bit of white gesso mixed with paint, or you can collage, you know, some of your, let's see, what do I have over here? You can paint it and then maybe create some kind of little sculptural piece with some ephemera and then put a little twine around it. Okay, so now I'm gonna make just one more. Just to show you one more time. All right, this was the one I made with the big brush of Leslie's, and I just love it. All right, so let's go this way. So I'm gonna start with the landscape mode, and I'm gonna create the hamburger fold. Okay. Then pull down the front. So I think what I'm gonna do is make a few of these to add to my holiday gifts. And that way people have this little journal. And I think I may collage something on the cover. And I like that you can use both sides. So you have inside and outside, and you can flip it. All right, so that's the hot dog. Hold down the front. Should I get this here? And then this side. Okay, so now I'm going to do on the inside just be really clear about my little marks. So I'm going to start on this first row and skip the center, flip it around, and get up here. Okay, and where did I put my scissors? Okay, losing my mind. Here we go. All right, so let's start with, if I start the same way every time, I don't forget. And cut the wrong way. I think I mentioned that I've done this on heavy duty, really large pieces of mixed media paper and added layers and layers of paint with a putty knife and just kind of mixed it together and scraped, and it came out really interesting. I like the thickness of that. All right, so now here we go. Got that. And I'm just kind of following the fold. Just kind of leads me around. Okay, so now this one came out. And then you can just kind of straighten it out a little bit, then take your bone folder. Okay, so let's get, last week when I was talking about this twine, so one is hemp, that is this one, and the other one's nettle, and it's a little bit softer. So I think I'm going to take a piece of this and cut it. And wrap it around a couple times. And now I have a little gift. And I would take, where's my little feather? I just like the idea. So what I would probably do is just hot glue this, or stitch it if I can. I'll try and figure out a way so that it's hanging on there, or clamp it with like a little jewelry clip or something. So I think that's a beautiful little gift, and something that I would give to my girlfriends, because sometimes we give each other just small things, and I like to make stuff. So we have this, and then we have this. And then we have our one with the woman inside, which came out kind of cool. So there we go.